We're rolling up right here. Paulie, do you want to be the coffee guy today while I roll us into a little introduction to today's most esteemed guest? Welcome to episode 86 of the Jungle Brothers podcast. It's me, Joey. We've got...
Hello, me T.
Me T. We got...
Hello, Photo Philly.
And then we got one of the latest coaching additions at Jungle Brothers, the most humble savage you'll ever meet, Pavel Sadecki. I got that right?
That's right.
Nice, brother. I love that name. Mate, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for being here.
It's good to have you here, man. It's Pav's been with us for... I'll give a little intro to you and then, you know, we'll get into it. But
Cool.
Pavel showed up to the gym and he was really... Actually, T, why don't you tell the story? Because you connected with Pav initially.
Pavel showed up to the gym and this fella came in with a big smile on his face.
Cauliflower ears.
Cauliflower ears, huge muscles. And I was like, oh, I wonder who this fella is. And he came in and said, hi, I'd like to inquire about coaching in the gym or training in the gym or just anything to do with the gym. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of went from there. So we had a good chat and had a look around and he had a big smile on his face, which was awesome.
Hasn't left his face.
Never leaves his face, got a big smile all the time. And he was very polite, very humble. And I thought, mate, this guy's going to fit right in. And we were actually looking for some more room on the mats because we're looking at starting our morning sessions as well for our BJJ.
Yep.
And the Pavel's wrestling pedigree kind of fit right in there. So, yeah, it was great. And the other thing that, he's just ticking all the boxes. He was talking about his background in lifting, working with kettlebells.
Strength and conditioning.
And then he had a really fond interest in the garden on the way out. And then he sold me and I was like, oh,
he sold to
we gotta get this guy in.
He's like, this is the guy.
Like
I was sold as well when I came here.
Who was selling
When I leave the place.
Yeah, I remember that first day you came in, you're like, oh, I'm here to meet T. And I was like, oh, hey, man, nice to meet you. And then I did like a second take. I'm like, oh, that's some cauliflower ears you got there, bro. And then I like noticed the bandy kind of wrestler's legs. And I was like, oh, he's got those Khabib legs. And then, like, you grapple, bro? You're like, yeah, I wrestle. We're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, I was still like, oh yeah, a little bit, but it's been like, I started when I was like 6 years old. So it's been a while.
A lifetime.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mate, so that's cool, you know. So we'll go into like what you do here now and all that sort of thing. But how did you find us? How did you end up here?
I've heard like from I think like an online like website and then so like some posts on like Facebook and I think it was only Facebook actually. Didn't use the Instagram at the time as well. So check it out and like I wanted to come like for a bit of a while actually. Like, it's been probably like 2 years. I was like checking you guys, but like never had a chance to actually come here. Like didn't drive or anything. So living on like opposite side of the city. So never got a chance to actually get here and then finally got my car and wanted to change a little bit of career as well. Like got into more like coaching and training. So I was like, I definitely have to go and check out the place. And plus actually I'm here from the like my previous colleague as well. So we used to work in a cafe together and he mentioned you guys through Ty. Like he was doing the internship here. So he was like, oh, why don't you check them out as well? I was like, oh, actually I was thinking about it for a long time. So I'll actually just like might come in and ask what you guys do, how you good like doing it as well. So
you knew Ty or was a friend of his?
No, friend of his. I knew Italo. Like he used to train me for a little bit.
Italo,
so,
yeah.
Yes,
I never knew that. That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know
Ty's
that
got
was a
all the
connection.
connections.
Yeah, all around, Dancing gets him everywhere.
See how he just alphaed your skill set, bro?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. And you live in Bondi, right?
Bondi, yes, yeah.
So, like so you already mentioned before, like you've been wrestling since you were a kid, since you were 6 years old, and you're now how old?
28.
28. What was it about what you saw that we were doing? Because the standard kind, you could imagine someone whose really interest is only wrestling would look at our gym and it wouldn't really mean, it wouldn't spark much interest. What was it that got you interested in it?
Yeah, I think it was just like the aspect of everything. It was like a mixture, like usually when you have a gyms, they like really just focus on one thing and they kind of forget about everything else. If you have like, let's say you go to grappling gym, it's just all about the grappling, it doesn't matter if you're injured or something. It's just like still like jumping in, like you're trying to like prevent somehow, if like your shoulder's hurting or something, like you're trying to just like compromise it, but you're still going through that. Same thing with like a lifting, if you just go to like lifting gym, everyone just lift, but they don't care about anything else. Like they have skill of lifting, but nothing else, and I think it's like what it's missing is like to combine everything together, like to keep bit of lifting, bit of mobility, bit of like, like from fighting perspective, if it's grappling, striking, and when I saw this gym, it's like you guys bring everything all together. So you have this chance, to participate in like pretty much everything you need to. Like you can adjust your training if like you're injured, like okay, I know I probably have to work more on mobility, maybe just a body weight, and I still might like get some like a grappling session, but they're not gonna be as hard, like I just go for like 2 sessions instead of like going 5 days a week, and just my injury is getting worse and worse, and like I'm not learning anything. So I think that was a big thing for me to see actually like combining like all aspects of training together. So that was for me like a big part to see from you guys, which kind of brings me here as well.
That's cool.
Let's go back into Pavel's past. Where were you born?
Right. So I'm from Slovakia. So it's a small country in Europe. Eastern Europe kind of thing.
It's cold there, yeah.
A little bit, yes. Yeah. Like
Yep.
the winters, they get pretty cold. So and we are like inland as well. So there is like no ocean, no sea, So
inland,
yes,
landlocked.
Pretty much,
Yep.
yeah. So if you wanna do something, like you either do sport or like you just kind of like hang out with the guys, like outside. So for me, it was like mostly like because I started when I was 6, so I was like hanging out with the guys in the gym. Like for us, it was like pretty community,
Keep
like
you out of trouble.
Pretty much, yeah. That's.
And is wrestling a national sport, or is it a obscure sport? Is it big over there?
Yeah, so it's not as massive, and it's like some of the other country, but it's still like big enough to like have enough club to compete against each other. Yes, yeah. So we were actually quite lucky when we were like kids. There was like a few different clubs in the town where I'm from. So they just pretty much like did like each suburb would have like a small club, and that would be just for our kids, So that would be between like age of like 6, 8 to like age 12, and then there would be like this like a main club, and like all the adults would train there as well. So it was just more like specific for our kids to like just get basics to get into the sport, and then you would just go to like
a little bit of competition between those clubs as
exactly
well?
Yes, yeah. So we would have actually like very often, it would be probably like every second week since I was like 7, it's probably like only like a few months after the wrestling, we would have like a comps between like all these clubs. So there would be clubs from the town, and then like some towns around as well. There would be like some clubs coming from like Hungary, Poland, and we would just like compete as a kid. So like every second week there would be like some competition, to just like test yourself. And I think it was like a good way to actually understand, what you need to do, what you need to work on, and also like gives you lots of discipline as well. So you actually like you're going there just with a coach, you're still just a kid, you're like 7, 8 years old, and coach takes you somewhere, like you've never been there, like different country, different language as well. So you go there, compete with other guys, like it's lots of stress as a kid, like I remember like I was going to a competition and like I wouldn't eat the whole day, just like focus on the matches, then like
because of nerves.
Pretty much, yes, yeah. It's just like it always keeps me, like I want to really focus on the competition and like never want to lose, and I was like, no, I just have to like know who I'm like wrestle with, like what I have to do, and like I would not eat anything the whole day, even if I like wouldn't cut the weight, I would just like not eating. Even like a day before, it was already like starting, feeling my belly like, oh no, I'm not hungry, I don't need to eat anymore, telling mom, and then she was like, no, you need to eat, like you're gonna compete. So but I was like, no, I'm okay, then like my mom would give me like shitloads of food, to just get ready for a comp, and I would just like bring everything back home because I wouldn't eat anything, just focus on the comp.
Who got you into the wrestling?
Mom, pretty much. Yeah.
No
so 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 we went actually with my brother. So I have like an older brother, and we went for they had this in the school, like a program for wrestling. And so I was just going with my brother and mom, because he's supposed to join in, and then the coach was like, oh, like, why don't you jump in as well? Because I think there was like an age limit, which was, I think, either like 7 or 8, and I was 6. And my mom was like, oh, he's like too young still. And the coach was like, no, he's okay, he can jump in. So I jumped straight away in. Then like my mom, like, he would like bring us for like a few more trainings. And after this, she was like, oh, like, my brother is Daniel, so like Daniel can take you to training, you know. So then we just like started like going with the to training together, and then pretty much just stick with that, you know, like going with the brother to a training like every day. Actually, it was like first in the beginning, I think it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but then very soon it was like every day. So it would be like from Monday to Friday pretty much, and then later on from a high school would be like twice a day. So
wow,
yeah, got
so morning, night.
Exactly. Oh. Yes, yeah. So I was actually quite lucky with like I think I was like quite talented as well as a kid. So I was only like I think like 8 years old. So I was like grade 3, and the coach already actually he brought me this like a paper for a primary school, and he would like give it to me, and like I just gave it to my like teacher, and he was like, oh, you don't need to like come for like first 2 classes, because you're gonna train with us in the morning, you know, like, because I supposed to do that when I was like 10, but he was like, no, you need like a more preparation, because like you're good, like you're already good, but we wanna like make you even better, you know. I was the only kid like training with the older like so like the youngest one would be like my brother, which he was already like 2.5 years older than me, you know. I was like 8, he was like 10.5, so I was always like training with the older guys. So yeah, always been like pushed, you know, to train with all the guys, but I was like in a level with them, so it like didn't really matter as much. But yeah, they're like, for most of the guys was like, you know, like, oh yeah, like you're smashing us anyway, you know, so like you belong here, you know. So
there's a huge difference between an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old in physicality.
Yeah,
like you can see that with our own kids. Like I watch my son, who's only 2 years younger than my daughter.
Yeah,
and she's just fucking kicking his ass all over the place.
Yeah, so I have this like
all the time.
I had this like funny story. So I would go to like a competition, and the problem was because I was always like training with the older guys. So I was like 10 years old, and the guys that would be like 14, 15, which is like big gap still, right?
That's big gap.
And then so I would go to this competition, and there is like an age limit. So like there was, I think like age limit was like between 12 to 15, and I was like 10 or like just like turning 11, you know. And they were like, oh yeah, like you can't compete, be like, you're too young for it, you know. And the coach was like, oh, why he can't compete, you know, like if he like gets smashed, you know, it doesn't really happen. Like it's not gonna like matter that much for him, you know, like he's just gonna lose the first round and he's gonna go home, you know. I was like, yeah, I don't mind, you know, to jump in. And then like the guys who were organizing come like, yeah, it makes sense, you know, he can just jump in, you know, he's gonna go first round out. So then like got to the comp, and then like first round I was like winning against the guy, you know. I was like, oh, this guy maybe knows something, you know. Then second round winning again, you know. Then I had to win like I think like 4 different matches, you know, to get to final, you know. And then I got to final, and they were like, oh shit, you know, he's not supposed to be here, he's in the final, right? And then actually I was competing with my like teammates from the same club, but he was like 4 years older than me, you know. And then yeah, that was like, oh, it's not gonna happen, you know.
That's
like
too big a gap.
Like yeah, you're not gonna win against him, you know. Then went for a final. It was like really tough match, but still I won the match. You know? So I was like, yeah. So like got there too, you know, and I'm not even supposed to be there. So
amazing.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Was there a size difference, or were you
the size was same? So no, I mean, because you have like different like weight category as well. So like the weight would be the same, you know, because I was competing with these guys. Let's say that would be like 40 kilo, you know, so I would have the same weight, but yeah, like just the age difference would be.
Physicality is different.
Yes, yeah, but it still makes a lot different when you're kids. So yeah, it was like always pushing out to like going with all the guys. But then later on in my training, I think when I was like 12 or 13, no, actually even later, like 13, 14, then it kind of like got in a point when the coaches were like, oh, you're like, okay, you can't train with the older guys anymore, you know, like you have to just stick with your level. And that's what I think kind of like stopped me a little bit and just got me like away from it, you know. I was like, didn't like improve much for like a year, you know, just got stuck with guys that were like like same age as me, but they were on the same level. So I was like, oh, it's like it doesn't like feel the same, you know. And I was like kind of frustrated just going to training, didn't learn much exactly, yeah. And then like kind of get like off the track as well. Then like I think it was like a mixture of everything. So I had like a few like health issues. I think like there was something going on with my like immune system. So I was like getting sick all the time and like didn't train properly. And then I was like kind of like sick of the training as well, you know. So like kind of like step away from the training for a little bit, and then like was like away probably for like a year or a bit more than that. But then like I was like, oh, I like missing the, you know, training. So then like changed it up a little bit, like went more into like lifting, but it was just more like a bodybuilding lifting, you know, just like going to the gym and just lifting the weights when I was like 15, 16, and like
As you do.
Yeah.
As you do. Must. Yeah. It's a rite of passage.
Yeah. So yeah.
Foundation of like a lot of athletic individuals.
Yes. Yeah. So I was just like finishing the high school and going straight to like my mom actually she had this like she works for a government, and they had like gym in a place where she works, and there was like place for the like the guys trained there, you know, from the government, like but there was like no one ever there, you know, like they didn't train at all. So I pretty much had a gym for myself. So it was just like a small gym, you know, and like didn't know as much about the training. I just knew, you know, whatever we did as a kids, you know, because we already, when I was like probably like 10 or something, we already like started like lifting some weights and just do like, you know, some preparation for wrestling. So there would be like some different conditioning, you know, like some would be like lifting, some would be like running, you know, and then like specific wrestling. So then I, like when I went away from it, I was like, oh, I just started lifting the weights, you know, like I don't mind actually like doing something different, you know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think like my body like composition is like I can like really easily like put on the weight. So I went from like I think like 70 kilo to like 82 or 83 in like 3 months, you know, just like.
At what age?
That was like I think 15 or 16.
Fuck.
So
Dude.
yeah, I was like
Because you know, like they had the Tyson and Roy Jones Jr.
and like,
fight.
like pretty big, but like it was just pretty much muscle, you know, because like I was there, I would just eat, you know, sleep, train, go to school, and just, you know, every day would be the same thing for me, you know. So like some of the days, like my brother would come to the gym with me, but I didn't really care, you know. For me, it was like, okay, I'll just go to the gym every day, you know. Like I have a gym
what
for
else
myself.
Are you gonna do?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just enjoyed that, and then slowly like I was doing that for I don't know, maybe like a year or two, and then like slowly started like shifting, you know. Then we saw this, I think it was actually on the YouTube or somewhere like that, you know, there's like a bodyweight training when the people actually train outdoor, and then we were like, oh, this is like a great idea, you know, but we had like no facility for it back home, you know, so we were just like looking for this like kids playground, you know, just to, like whenever we can hang, and just like do something. So that would be like 13 years back now, you know. So it's like it wasn't that big, you know, the whole thing, like whole bodyweight training. So we would just go down to bars. Bars would be like a kids playground, you know, but there was like no kids, so we just went there, you know, and just did some training, you know, did some pull-ups, dips, whatever we knew, you know, like did some squats. Like we had from wrestling actually this training, you know, when you like kind of carry your partner. So we were like doing squat with my brother and things like that, you know, just in the park, just doing something different. So always just like trying to find a way, you know, what can I do, how can I improve myself, and just shifting, you know, from a different aspect of sport as well. And
do you consider Slovakia in relation to Europe? Do you consider it central, or do you think of it as part of the Eastern Europe?
When I was a kid, it would be more like, oh no, it's essential, you know, we're not from like Eastern Europe, you know, because I think it was like Eastern Europe is like, oh, we're not like anymore of the like a block of the Russia. But to be honest, I think we're like more going to like Eastern side, you know, because like our parents pretty much grew up in like a communism like regime, you know, so like we were growing up like in a different regime, but we like our parents like didn't know much different, you know. So I think it was still more like an Eastern European style of everything, you know. Same with the coaches, you know. They used to train in different regime as well. So that would be like their style of training. Like that's what we did with them as well. So I think I call it more like a Eastern Europe now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's funny what you're saying about calisthenics, and I think for anyone in the West, when you see calisthenics, you know, we're all exposed to what's happening across the world through social media and stuff. And whenever you're seeing a lot of these calisthenics videos like bodyweight training, it's always Eastern Europe.
Yeah, right.
You know, and you kind of just think, oh, like Russia, but it's, you know, it feels like that side of the world, that there's a lot of, I guess it's just a really commonly practiced style of strength training.
Yeah, I think so, because like you do whatever you can do, right? Like if you don't have any equipment or something, you know, you just hang on any bar you can find, you know, outside. So it's, I think, the easiest way to do the training, you know. And then like, yeah, as I said, like for us it was like, if you can like lift anything, like what else you can lift. So at least I can lift the partner, you know. So if it's my brother or someone else come train with me, you know, so like we can do some squats together, you know. He jumps on my shoulders and I'll just do some squats, you know. If I don't have anything else to lift, you know, there is at least something you can use, you know. So yeah.
You remember when we did that down at Bondi Beach? We're carrying each other, running on the sand that day?
Yeah.
It's turning heads everywhere because people have never seen that here. It's like so extreme.
It actually happened to us as well. So we went with brother down to Bondi Beach, right? And same thing, like, oh, we're just going to go for some run and then we're just going to carry each other, you know, just going like up and down on the beach, you know. We were like carrying each other, and then suddenly there was a lifeguards, right? They came to us and they were like, oh, guys, you okay? You know, like, do you need the help? They're like, no, we're just training, you know, like we're just carrying each other up and down. They were like, oh, okay, that's cool, you know, because we thought like something happened, you know, you just carrying him back, so yeah.
Round.
At least you know you can do that, right? So if something happened, you know, to your mate, you can just get him home or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
What big differences do you see in the fitness industry between what you see here in Australia and what you experience back home?
Right. I think for me, what was like the biggest thing would be like now mobility. That would be like a big part of training. I didn't do much. I mean, like our coaches would tell us, you know, like, oh guys, you need to stretch after training, and we were like, after 2 hours of training, you know, like yeah, okay, we just sit down, you know, and talk, you know, and like really like, you know, care about the stretching or do anything like that. So I think that would be a big difference. But also I think from like saying that like back home, difference was like there was like not much else to do, but I think it was just more for kids, you know. So like you have nothing else to do, you just train. So like there's like no pathways going around, you know. Like here it's like, oh, I just go to the beach or something, you know. I skip the training. So I think it's just the way if you have nothing else to do, you know, you just get stick with your training. And I think here you can, especially as a kid or if you're like teenager, like you can just get a lot more looser, you know. And there's like so many different things you can do here, like I don't know, as I said, you know, going to the beach or hang out just with the mates, you know, sitting down, yeah, like somewhere in the park or something. Back home when it's cold, you know, there's like nothing really you can do. So like you just go to the gym, train with your friends, you know, hang out with them for a little bit and then go home, repeat the same thing the next day. So yeah, I think it's, but then saying that I think what I can see here is like the more like people when they're like older, they just keep training here, which is like they realize like, okay, we haven't done anything as a kids, you know, now it's time to do something.
Yeah.
And over there, I think it's more like opposite, you know, it's not as many like people training later on. So like, let's say you hit like 30, 40 and like, okay, that's it, you know, like I'm not training anymore, you know, training just for kids. So I think it's like slowly start shifting.
Culture.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think slowly like start shifting this as well, like people training for longer now. But I think just before was like it just was for kids, you know. So by the time like you hit 20, 25, you know, that's it, like you're not training anymore, you know. Like there is like, first of all, I think the people like don't see the reason, like, oh, like why we should train, you know, like it's not gonna like bring me anything really, right? And then second, I think it's also like you're just working too much, you know, you're just like trying to like, you know, feed the family and survive pretty much. Yeah.
So. And also maybe the emphasis of the training is a little bit different for kids. It's all about discipline, isn't it? It's
exactly.
like, you know, martial arts,
and
like got to have discipline.
And it seems very sport driven.
Yeah, you've got to compete.
Yeah. Whereas there's less, we're not as hardcore about the sport side of things, are we?
I think
like some are, but
yeah, I think it's probably not so much anymore. I'd say we were like a bit more down that path when I was growing up. But now I think there's just so many options for kids now that you can have a kid doing 10 different things in a week, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And then
it's a good way and bad way, I think, you know, because like if you're doing too many things, then like you're just getting like a little bit, like all around the place. Like it's good, like you get foundation from everything.
Yeah.
But then like you're not focused on
Don't get
actually
good
on
at anything.
Yes. Yeah.
And you also don't get good at just that daily consistency. That you get so much variety. You're like you can't focus on anything.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
I know sorry to cut you off, but the people I've like trained with, I think of jiu-jitsu, the people I've trained with who have come from some other kind of elite sport background, I can think of, a few people off the top of my head, but like I used to train with a guy that was like a really high level, like a national level swimmer. And then I've trained with people who come from like track and field sports, and they all get really good at jiu-jitsu because they're so good at applying themselves, and they're not put off by little injuries or a lack of motivation here and there. They just do it. And it's not to say that that's, the way that everyone should approach it, but there's a real benefit. You can see it from them having gone through this rigorous kind of experience as a child or as a teenager.
Yeah, I think like it's very important as a kid, like you know your body better as a kid, like you know how to move, and I don't think you're ever gonna lose it, like once like okay, this is how I roll. If I like kick something and I have to just roll, like you get these basics, and then you can just apply to any sport. And like but I found out like when I saw this, like especially even when I was back home, and then the people would start like training when they were like 20, 25, and like they had no coordination, they didn't know how to fall, how to roll and things like that. It's just like a basic movement for us, like you don't even think about it, and then you see someone just like jumping on a mat and like they don't have this like skill, like for me it's like kind of basic skill to have. And I think it's just like really difficult to learn when you're like older, like you're just more aware, of your body in a sense, like, okay, if I do something wrong, I'm just gonna mess myself, so I'm not gonna even try it, and then like they just like, it's not for me, like it's, I'm way too old, but you can still learn. You just have to be like going slow, like don't pushing yourself. And
it's true, right? There's the studies show that there's a level of neuromuscular development that occurs when you practice a sport as a child, that if you pick up that sport as a mature aged, like even, say in your late teens, you can never reach the same levels of development because you just didn't do it when you were like from like 6 to 15.
Developmental stages.
And I'm sure that, I'm sure that probably explains a little bit of why. So most of the elite level, say Olympic level athletes, like weightlifters and stuff, particularly these, and wrestling and whatnot, they've either done that sport since they were a kid, or they did another sport that gave them that development, and then they transitioned into that.
Yeah, like with the wrestling, I think it's like, I don't actually know anyone who would like jump when they were like 20, and then get actually like on the top level, like everyone started as a kid or at least as a teenager, just to like get the basic skill. I think it's like really difficult to like learn later on. Like you can get basics, but to actually like go on the like top level, if you don't have the like proper basics, then it's like really hard for you to like going actually somewhere, like it takes like lots of years of practice,
Well, that's why God invented Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the adults that want to get on the mats.
pretty much.
With the rest of the
guys. Yeah. So that would be like exactly opposite of wrestling, right? Like lots of the Jiu-Jitsu guys, they would like jump in when they're like 20, 25, 30, sometimes 40. So, and then you see them like they can still like, adjust themselves. They're like on the floor. They kind of feeling safe, because they're already down. So they're not worried about that. With the wrestling, like you're always standing up, so the game starts on the feet. So I think it's for like lots of people like, oh, it looks a little bit too dangerous for me,
Fuck, it is dangerous.
Yeah, maybe just
so athletic.
It is dangerous.
No, I think it's just a playful game.
Oh man, I asked Pavel to send through some video of like all the what he like looks up at the top wrestlers, and he sent me some video of these kids that were like, wow, they would have been at 6 or 8.
Probably, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like watching these kids. I would not want to get on the mats with them. They were fucking vicious. But so athletic and so pliable and so strong. It was actually a lot of the kids' techniques looked even better than the adults.
Yeah, I know, because
you
they
sent
don't
the
have
adults
much.
through.
They don't have much strength, right? So like all they have to use is just the technique and like flexibility they have. So there's not much
amazing.
strength they can actually use. So I think it's really cool to like watch the kids what they
so
can achieve. You
impressive.
know, and the, like them. Like in even position they get into it, you know, they can still escape.
There was one doing like a backflip cartwheel to get out of
exactly
this single leg
Single
hold.
leg, yes,
The aerial awareness is really. I
amazing.
think that's something that's missed when you watch wrestling. It's hard
They're
to
like gymnasts.
understand how aware they are in the air, huh?
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's why like so that would be like our like everyday warm up for a wrestling. You know, like you just start with some like a basic, you know, like a routine where you like warm up like the joints, you know, and then like doing a little bit like a dynamic movements, and then like you're going. We call it like a gymnastic preparation, which is like going from the rolls, you know, cartwheels, and then like handstand. It's just like basic of like everything, but it just like prepares you, you know, like you know how to roll, like just be awareness of the space as well, you know, because like some people like they just roll and they have no idea where they are, you know, when they end up on a different position. So I think it just like gives you kind of like once you like start spinning in a different position, like you know where you are, and there was like
spatial awareness.
pretty much, yeah. Like that was a big thing for like coach always said to us, you know, like you need to know like where you are on the mat and like what position you wanna be, you know. So like you always need to adjust the position you're in, and if you have no idea, you know, like you're rolling 2 or 3 times and then like you're just losing the coordination, like you're kind of like losing the match, you know, like it's.
Because you're twisting a lot from your spine. So it's not just like bending and flexing. It's like twisting,
Exactly.
and keeping your load on one area and contorting your body.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I wanted to ask, with you competing from a young age and stuff, how when was the last time you competed, and what level of competition did you reach?
So when I was a kid, I think I stopped around like age 14, 15, and then so there was like all this I mean with the wrestling as a kid, so there was like all this competition. It just was like coming for me, but then as I said, like I kind of like just went away from the path a little bit, but I was like competing like back home to like a national tournaments, and then there was like some like overseas as well. We went once to America, which was pretty cool as well, because they have like a different style of the wrestling. They call it like a college wrestling, which is a little bit like a different system they're using. And then so that was kind of like I stopped when I was like age 14, and then after this one, I just I was, as I said, like I was doing just a bit of lifting. Then actually like went into running a little bit. So I went for a marathon when I was like 19, you know, just to complete something different. And actually end up to finish. Then just came here, and then I was doing like a mixture of everything. So when I came here, the wrestling is not as big here. So I was like, I just do anything, you know. I don't mind if it's like a jiu-jitsu, boxing, like kickboxing. I just jump to anything. So I just started training in one of the gym, and I just started actually just with like a wrestling jiu-jitsu mix. And then when into like the coach was like, oh, just jump for a boxing as well, right? Like just do everything. I was like, oh yeah, like I'll just might try it as well. Like I don't really mind, you know. Had no idea about the boxing, you know. Because first time hit, I was like, oh shit, you know, like it's like a real deal, right? Yeah.
And you realize you got rocks for fists.
Yeah. But because it's like really,
pads for him.
got the hook like really quickly.
Your
So
hook
I
is
was
good.
like, I just want to do everything. Like I was always open to like different sports and different activities. So I was like, I just jump in, you know. So then like started doing like more striking as well, and actually like kind of like my thing was like I always wanted to try MMA. Like once I like started with everything. So I was like start training there, and there was like few like a small comps we would go like grappling comps. So I would just compete, and like didn't do that great. Like actually, like I went, I think like 3 times, and every time I would get like disqualified for like slamming people and things like that. And they're like, "Oh, you're not allowed. You're not allowed." I was like, "Okay." So every time I would like either like slam or do something, you know, it wasn't allowed in my level, you know. And then. So then I went to actually like I had this like one MMA fight, which was like in a ring, so it wasn't in a cage. So I went to this I think it was like an instructor of like a kickboxing in one of the gym, And so he was doing kickboxing. I was like wrestler, right? So like a good matchup. So yeah, we had this. There was like a fight night. I was, I think, like 21 or 22, and went there. Like it was like pretty, like actually got pretty nervous before that as well, you know, because something different never tried. So yeah, I had this fight, and then didn't end up that well. I got like it was like the first round, I got like head kicked, and then kind of I was like dizzy, you know, just like trying to cover myself, you know, and then like, yeah, it was just an amateur fight. So like we didn't have the shin guards or anything like that, but there was like, if you can't like do something, you know, in like next 10 seconds or something like that, they just have to stop the fight.
Yes,
so
yeah.
then I was just like covering myself in a corner, you know, and they just had to stop the fight. But still good experience, you know, jump into it and just try something different. Yeah.
It's different with the shin pads off, isn't that? When you cop one of those.
Very different, yeah.
It's like a hit with a
And plus I
baseball
was
bat.
going with this like a guy doing
And a
like kickboxer, right? So I was like, oh shit. He was actually like quite tall guy as well, you know, so he had a good range.
Long one.
So I was actually, I think on the like very beginning, I was like trying to go for like some takedown, and then like he got like hooked on the ring. Then we just had to reset, going back, and then
Then
just
he got
like
okay.
got leverage.
No cage walls. Yeah.
But yeah, it was like my fault as well, you know. I just like should keep the distance after. So yeah, and then after that, actually, that was my like first 3 years in Australia, and then decided to like, it's like kind of just got stuck with the same thing, just like training, working, studying. Wanted to change up a little bit, so went to America for a little bit, and then like did some training there as well. So there was this club, they did like, it was like an MMA club. So it was it was like training with them. There was like few Russian guys coming to fight in like a UFC. So I was just jumping like with them for like some training, sparring and things like that. So that was like pretty tough as well to actually experience. Yeah, there were some good guys there. And stayed there for like 2 months, and then went back to Europe, and kind of like got back to like lifting, and then mixed up a little bit, and came back here, and then like got more into like bodyweight training. So went down to like Bondi bars with like all the like Russian group guys. So trained with them for a little bit as well, and then another gym in Bondi, and I was doing like some grappling there as well. So there was like some good guys there as well. So got some like good training there. Then got like some injuries, so I had to like step away and then like kind of change up the training as well. So always like look for something different, you know, adjusting my training.
Tell me,
Cool.
what are the rules to wrestling?
Right.
What are the rules?
Yes.
Oh, and with that question, can you also like let us know, because there's different styles of wrestling?
Yes, exactly.
And you were telling me that Greco, it's only above the waist.
Exactly.
Can you just like an
WWF?
overview? Because I don't.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So with the wrestling, like you have two different like ways, or like 3 different ways to win. So one is to get to pin an opponent, which you like have to get him on the shoulders and hold the opponent for like 2 or 3 seconds, you know. But it's not very common. Like it's get common in the kids, you know, when you have like a big like differences between kids. But as an adult, it's not really common to actually pin someone.
It's back of the shoulders, you say, so center of the back. If you're down at the center of the back, but you're kind of lifting your shoulders,
it still
it's
doesn't
not
count.
a pin.
You don't usually lift the shoulders, but you do bridge when you're actually like staying on top of your head.
Yeah,
so you're like staying on top of the head,
So
and
it's
you're
hard
bridging.
to pin them down.
Exactly, yeah. So they're trying to lift your head to push you down to your shoulders, but it's not happening as often. And then the 2 other options are point systems. So you either have to do like a points for like rolling the opponent, or you so if you get like over 10 points of the opponent, then you win the match. Or if you like getting more points after the time finish, then you win the match as well. So you have like two wins when you can actually win it before the match actually finish, before the time. So that's like the pin, or you get over the 10 points of the opponent, or then if it goes the full time, then you have to like just get the more points as the opponent. And if you have like, it can happen actually, you have the like equal. Like you have the same, you know, like the match end up like 3-3, but then it's also depends, like if you do the last point, or if you do the like scoring the like a bigger throw, then you win as well. So
Do they stop if you get 10 points? Do they stop the match at that point?
Yes, and
Earlier.
yeah,
and how
that's
long does a match go?
Yeah, so for the adults, it's like a 2-3 minutes round.
2-3.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very long, but it's really taxing.
intense.
Yeah,
Those short
yeah,
rounds are
yes,
high intensity.
very high
And
intensity.
they pause the clock when they go out of bounds and then come
every
in
time.
and restart.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
So every time the clock stop and then you're going back. Yes, yeah.
Jesus.
How long do you have to pin them for?
It's about like 3 seconds, but it's like it's the rule like, you know, depending on the referee kind of thing. So yeah, it's not very long, but then like you have to keep both shoulders down on the floor. And then, so there is like a free referee. So there is like one man on the mat and there is like two other. So there has to be at least like two of the referees say like, okay, it's pin, you know, they have to like raise the hand and that means like they both agree and then they can stop the match.
And when you take someone down, so say you shoot, pick them up, take them down, but they turn midair and land like on their hands and knees.
Yes.
There's no points at that point?
You do get some points if they like land down on like a knees and elbows, but you won't get if they're just on the hands and the toes. So like you have to actually give them all the way down. So there is like lots of these scrambles when you have you're actually not scoring any points. You know, there can be like a 20 second of the different scramble, you know, getting in like 4 different positions, but you're not getting any points.
Nothing
you know?
actually happens.
Exactly.
You spend all that energy.
Yes, yeah. And then regarding to like a different style. So like 2 basic styles with the wrestling would be the like a freestyle and Greco-Roman. So the freestyle would be like you can use the like hands and legs. So like you can like shoot for legs, you can hook with the legs, you can like do anything with the legs as well as the arm. But with the Greco-Roman, you're just using the upper body. So like if you see the Greco-Roman, they can't hook the legs, they can't hold the legs, they can't do anything with the legs.
Can they use the hip?
legs?
Can they throw over the hip?
Yes and no, depending, you know, because like you can use the hip, but most of the time they're like trying to like sneak, you know, the leg there as well to just help to lift up, you know, and then it's like kind of illegal. But then like depending on the referee, you know, what they say about that.
Are they trying to pin as well?
Yes, they have the same system. Yes, yeah. I think just like for them, it's like usually like a Greco-Roman, they're like really strong guys because like the upper body, it's like crazy. And then the strength of the legs, right? Because they have everything they have to lift up to actually like do anything. So they're just using the legs to lift up and then the upper body, you know, for the control on top. It's it's ridiculous. I think the freestyle is like a little bit more technical, you know, but they still strong guys, you know, but they're not as strong as I think the Greco-Roman guys. And then you have this like a different style in America, which is like they call it folk style or also like college wrestling. So they're actually going through this like a whole phase in a high school. So it's very similar to freestyle. So they like shooting for legs. They can grab the legs. They can do anything as well as a freestyle. But they have a different scoring system. So with them, it's actually if you like in a freestyle, if you like turn the partner on the back and then they're going back, you get the points. But in a college wrestling, you actually have to hold them on the back to start getting some points. And also when you're on the bottom in a freestyle, you get stand up in like 5 to 10 seconds, you know. So if there is nothing happening on the bottom, the referee is just gonna stand you up straight away. In the college in America, so actually you do have to be active when you're on the bottom as well. So they let you stay down, but you're trying to stand up. So if you like stand up, then you're getting points for that as well. So just a little bit different of the style as well. Like the standing up is like pretty much the same as the freestyle, but then the bottom system is a little bit different. So
pushing the action for the fans, all the parents, the colleges.
So that's why like all these Americans, they trying to like transition when they're like 18. You know, they already in like in a college. They do train both, then so they have like college because like that's what they get like a scholarship for. But then if they want to get to like a Olympics or like a world championship, they actually have to do the freestyle because that's the only one system. You know, it just works everywhere. Like everyone follow that
international system.
Yes, exactly, and that's a good thing as well. I think about the wrestling is there is only like a one federation. So you have like boxing or jiu-jitsu, you know, when you have like 10 different one, and then there is like a world champion, you know, but there can be like a 10 different world champion because it's a different federation. In the wrestling, you have only like a one
there can
chance.
only be one.
Exactly, yeah. So like every year you have just like a one world champion. I mean, you have different weight category, but only one, you know. So it's like everyone just follows the same rules. All the competitions are always the same, you know. So like everyone just follows the one federation, which is like an Olympic, you know, like under the Olympic Games.
Right.
So.
Does the Olympics include freestyle and Greco-Roman?
Yes, yeah. So it
Right.
includes both. Yeah. The only thing is about the Olympic Games, because they actually they wanted to cut out the wrestling away. Like they didn't want to keep the wrestling there.
And it was
Insanity.
gone for one Olympic Games, wasn't it?
No, almost. They almost want to take it out, but they actually they kept it still. The thing was, they said like, oh, it's not very like attractive for fans to watch it, and there was so there's like a three difference. So there's a Greco-Roman freestyle and then women wrestling as well. And so what they did, they actually cut the half of the like a weight division. So if you're going like to a world championship, you have like I think it's now 11 different weight division, and if you're going to Olympics, it's only 6. So they cut each, like every second one.
Wow.
So yeah,
Just so that it takes up less space within
exactly
the games.
less time. Yeah, so instead of like spending 5 days, they spend only like 2 or 3 days. So
Okay.
yeah, they
How
reduce
did
it.
how did the wrestling community feel about that?
Yeah, I don't think they're really happy about that, because then it's like really big gap, and like comparing to jiu-jitsu, I think the weight categories is like a big deal in the wrestling. Like you actually, if you're trying to go to different weight category, it's like, you know, like you most likely you're not gonna win. You know, it's just everyone cutting the weight and everyone wants to stay in the weight they feel comfortable in. So yeah, if you like, let's say there is like 10 kilo difference, you know, so if you can't fit in a weight, then like you have no chance to go actually. So even now, if you're going to like a world championship, and then you have these like Olympic weights, and then the rest, you know, the another 5. So if you're going there, always the Olympic weights, they're a lot harder to win actually, because everyone tried to get there. So there's like a more competition there as well for it.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's really tough. If you just luck out not being in one of those categories, and you got to try and
Change
go up
it
or
up,
drop down.
it's really difficult.
Impossible.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, like you can't change your like a body disposition, you know. So
No.
if you like can't fit,
It's
then you're
actually
like,
a bit dangerous when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because you're still going to have people wanting to get into those categories. They're going to start doing silly things. To do
yeah,
it, you know?
exactly.
Cut
yeah.
weight harder.
Yeah, harder
Yes,
cuts,
yeah.
weight cuts and that.
And they used to do it like so it used to be like you have the weight in like day before. So like before let's say you're competing on Saturday, you're doing weight in on Friday, and then you have time to recover, you know. But lots of people use this like one day to like going nuts, you know, and they like would cut so
Dehydrate.
much. Exactly, yeah. But now it's actually on the same day, which is like good and bad thing, you know. Like it's a good because people don't cut as much, but then the bad, like some people they still do, and
Still
then you
cutting
can
and
see,
getting
you
in
know,
there.
like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you have like no energy.
A lot of that's very cultural, isn't it? Because you see it in MMA, and they've been trying to combat it for a while. And there's certain fighters that really push it to extremes. They cut huge amounts of weight and they really deplete themselves. And you see it in jiu-jitsu too. You see, you know, with jiu-jitsu, you weigh in before you step onto the mats for your first match. So you can't be in bad shape at that weigh-in. However, heaps of guys or girls still do it. They're like super dehydrated, really hungry. They're a fucking mess, but they're like, just get through the first fight and then I can eat and replenish. Maybe I got an hour before I fight again. And
yeah, and that's what I think you see in like MMA now as well. I think lots of like wrestlers, they actually not struggle as much with that, you know, like depending like how much they cut like previously. But I think like lots of like when you have like a boxer or a kickboxer, they did still like cut some weight for like, you know, previous like fighting. But I think it wasn't as much as for like MMA, because in MMA like everyone cuts a lot of weight, you know, because you have fight only like every 2 to 3 months or something, even maybe like twice a year, you know. So and I think with the wrestlers, they do know how to do it actually. So they get this like, you know, like okay, like I have to start like 2 weeks before, you know, and like I can prepare myself. I think with like boxers, they kind of like, you know, they struggling a little bit with that, and it's like mental game as well, you know. It just like destroys you before the fight. But I think like saying that I think it's very similar with boxing in a way, you know, like when they're saying like you can get only like knockout, like once you get, you know, like 5 knockouts, then like okay, your chin is not as strong anymore, you know, like you kind of like start losing. I think with the cutting weight, it's like kind of similar game, you know, like if you're like cutting for the whole life, you know, then on the end of the like cutting, it's just like you kind of like exhausted, you know.
Hurt
you know
yourself.
exactly, yeah. You know like what you're going through, but then like it's sometimes hard to adjust it, you know, like you just like over it, you know, like you're just doing it for like so many years, especially for these wrestlers, you know, they probably like start cutting weight in the age of 10, you know, so like
Oh,
they
that's
cutting,
too young.
yeah, they're cutting weight for like 15 years, you know, so it's
Shit.
like, and in the wrestling, it's not like boxing or something when you like compete only like every few months, you know, especially in a kid, like you compete every like second week, you know, so
Wow.
it would be like, yeah, then season is like never ending, you know. It's like,
Do you think that that had something to do with you were mentioning that you had a problem with the immune system, or
yes.
think
So
it was
actually, I had this like, yes, there was a one competition. It was actually, I think it was national in Slovakia, and so I wanted to like go to like a one weight division, and so when there I actually got to final. And then in the final, I remember like kind of like halfway through the match in the final, I was like kind of like almost like collapsing on the mat, you know. They were like, oh, you have to stand up, you know, like you just can't like stay on the floor, you know. Like I was just like gassing on the end. Oh. And I remember, like finished match, I was like, I think I actually lost that match, just like really close. But then I remember I like couldn't get off the mat, you know. They just actually had to go and pick me up from the mat, you know. And like I remember like I didn't feel really well after, you know. It's like, yeah, it just like takes lots of like energy from you as well.
Wow.
And then after that, you were just feeling like just like get your energy levels back up again.
So I don't know what was the thing. Like they actually like trying to like find it out.
Fatigue or something.
Yes, exactly. So what was my like issue was like my immune system wasn't good. I was like getting sick all the time, and I was like really like tired all the time. So I would like come from a high after the school, went like to bed, sleep, you know, then wake up, have some food, sleep again. So it would like it just didn't feel really right, you know. So and I actually like went to like check out to a hospital as well. They did like this test, but they couldn't like figure it out what was wrong, you know. And then like later on, like luckily it just like went off, you know. So like
just
slowly
needed a rest.
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
How long was that?
I never really liked the rest. I never liked it. You know, I was like, no, the rest is not for me. You know,
it's not good.
For other people, training, you know, I just leave it to the rest. You know.
Was that a matter of weeks or months? You feel like that it kind of faded away?
Months. I think it was almost like a year. Yeah. So it was long. Yeah.
I was it was, you mentioned really early on that you traveled for some of your first competitions at the age of 7.
Yes.
And I was just thinking, so like my partner's little girl, she's 7.5. She'll be 8 in a couple of months. And it's really interesting to think about the idea of her being like Hattie being in a sport and her going away with someone that's not her parents to compete. I'm like, that's absolutely no way, right? Like, you know, it's just a personality thing, whatever.
Yeah. So,
but do you remember at that time, was that stressful or strange to you, or was that just what it was?
On the beginning, it was actually. I remember the first time we went to like it was actually far away. It was maybe like 3 hours, and we went for some reason with the train. So the coach didn't drive there, and I think that like the whole tournament finished like late. And then we're supposed to go home, but I think there was like we missed the last train or something like that. So we actually end up to stuck in some train, you know. And they were like, "Oh, we have to like stay there for like another like 4 or 5 hours, you know." So we went there. We had to actually sleep in the train. I was like 7, you know. That was just my brother, you know. There was like no like phones or something like that. I could call my mom, you know, and like, "Oh, we're not coming home actually," you know. So I was like, what I'm gonna do, you know, like, and the coach was like, "Oh yeah, just guys like lie down on the floor, you know." We already in a train, you know, so like you can just have a bit of rest, you know. After the competition, you must be exhausted, you know. But I was like kid, you know, I was 7, you know, so without the parents, just my brother was there. So I was always, as I said, like I was always the youngest one, you know, everywhere. So for me, it was like, it doesn't feel really right for me, you know, but
everyone else is doing it.
Exactly. So. Was a good experience for me as well. So
did you, going through school, so you would have been, I'm guessing you would have been one of the few kids in your year that was training at an elite level. Did you feel at that time like the sport and the training and all of the pressure or the demands of that on your time and energy and whatnot, was that stressful for you, and did it take away from things? Were you ever like, you know, like, oh, I wish I could just go and hang out and fuck around after school, but I got to go to practice? Was that ever a thing for you?
Not at the beginning, because I like really enjoyed the sport, and I was like always want to be the best. And I was like, as I said, like when I was a kid, I was like quite on like high level. So like there would be like I would always like beat the guys, you know, on like 2 or 3 years older than me, you know, and like it didn't happen very often. So for me, it was, I think, motivated as well to like just keep pushing myself more and more. But then when I got like to like a teenage age, was like, okay, maybe it's like time to do something different, you know. And then like it just got in a point when like kind of like everything like combined together, you know, when I said like, yeah, my like immune system wasn't great, so I wasn't able to train properly, then like didn't get the motivation from the training to be like actually pushed, because I was like training with just my age, you know, and like I always want to be like on top level, you know. So that was kind of like, yeah, when it took away from me a little bit of the like the motivation to actually like train and yeah, just become the best, and kind of went different pathway for a little bit, you know, like just try everything around, you know, but yeah, didn't stick with that for too long, because like I always miss the sport and doing something, you know, like I didn't care if it's like with someone, like I always enjoyed to train with the people, but it was just by myself, I would still do it, you know. It wasn't the thing like, oh no, it's just me, you know, like I'm not gonna train, you know, I'm just gonna like go out and hang out with the guys, you know, like it was like I'm gonna go and train, you know, like this is the thing I like, actually I enjoy to do. So yeah, always stick with the training after.
It's cool. I think we don't. I don't know. I don't remember other kids at school that were really doing that. It was almost like kids that trained at that level when I grew up went to different schools. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of it's a strange. Yeah, it's an abstract idea to be kind of in this 2-a-day training thing at such a young age.
Yeah, and same like I was always a strong kid, but not a very, very like flexible kid. So I remember I was like lifting more weights than like pretty much like everyone in my class, and then I was lifting more weights than the like,
year above.
Yeah, like no, actually like 3 years above, you know. So and they were like, this is insane, you know, like they couldn't believe it, you know. So then like my brother classmate, you know, they were like, yeah, probably didn't do even like a 75% of what I was lifting, you know. So I was like kind of, and I think I was always like quiet kid, so like I would be never like bullying people or something like that. But like the people actually had the respect, you know, because they knew like, okay, like I'm not gonna mess up with this guy, you know. This guy is strong and he knows what he's doing. So
I had a guy in my year at school, Stefan. He's South African, and his little brother was like 3 years below us, but he was. Do you remember him, Joe? Stefan, or something. Anyway, his little brother was like 3 years below us or something, or maybe 4, because I remember he came in at year 7 and we were like in year 11 or something, and his little brother was a gymnast. And I don't know what he's doing now, but he was a gymnast. You see him, I don't know, we caught him every now and then with his shirt, like on a rare occasion with his actual shirt off. You can see it underneath his shirt. He had traps and you can see his forearms are all vascular, but caught him with his shirt off.
Muscles.
He just had a man's body, you know, and he was 5 foot and weighed like nothing, not even 5 foot, I'd say. But you could tell that I can recognize it now that he's very disciplined and motivated with what he was doing. But
yeah,
I remember one time he came into class to hand in a note, and he came into our class and he was handing a note to the teacher from another teacher. And everyone was like, do a backflip, do a backflip. And Tim Gallagher, a friend of mine, who was one of the best men at my wedding as well as Joe, pulled out $5. He goes, I'll give you $5, do a backflip. And he's like, gave him the $5 and the teacher wasn't looking. He just went, boom, just did this like this backflip between all the desks. It was like kind of narrow spot. And everyone just went, yeah, backflip. It was like really funny.
Yeah, that was for us as well as so it's like you think about wrestling, right? Like you always like, oh, you just guys kind of like touching each other, but for us it was like very like a mix of the training. So like we did like as I said, like lots of like, you know, like gymnastics from like rolling and jumping, like lots of like guys, you know, backflipping and things like that. Stuff. Yeah, and even with the training, you know, like now it's all this cool, you know, when you have like, I don't know, anything from like a rope and you know, like jumping on a box and things like that. For us it was a normal. That's like how we started, you know. I was like probably like 8 or 9 years old and we like already climbed the rope, you know. There was like one of the things like you actually like, that's only like the one equipment you find in all the wrestling gyms, you know. There's always the rope hanging in a,
it's part of the sport.
Yes,
awesome.
This guy can fucking climb a rope. You're like a fish in water.
Yes,
That is what I wanted to ask was the school, this place of sports in your schools growing up. So like for all the other kids that were at school, what did the sports component of education look like there? Because I think of Days Beyond and other parts of the world where I feel like they have a better standard and a better, more emphasis on general strength and training and trying to teach their kids discipline from a young age across the whole nation. Like, is there a basic kind of, I've seen like in countries where they're rope climbing, for instance, or they're doing obstacle courses and they're doing this from year whatever 6 all the way up. Is there
Yes.
something like that over there?
You do have it, yeah. You have this like kind of athletic classes for like all high school. But
Yeah.
the high school I was in was actually like a specific high school. So we would have like these different sport, like a different discipline. So it was like, yeah, I was doing the wrestling there. There was like gymnastics, there was athletics, there was like handball, swimming, water polo. There was like few different sports, and then you like so then you have a class of like a mix different of sports. So like it's cool way because like you hang up with all different athletes. So like everyone was doing something different, and then it's like that's how like we ended up also like going to like a weightlifting gym, you know, because there was like a kids weightlifters, you know. So the coach was like, oh, like you guys need to get strong, you know, like I'm gonna just take you to the weightlifting gym, you know, and they show us the basics, you know, like how to do clean, how to do snatch and things like that, you know. Like we didn't do it like really well, but we were like kids, you know, we were like probably 10 years old and just went through like the like bit of phase as well, you know, where you actually like do some lifting. But then even like our training would be like separated what we would do as well. So like, yeah, as I mentioned, like we had this training in the morning and then training in the afternoon. So like let's say there would be training in the morning, that would be like more like a strength conditioning. So it would be like a twice in the morning we would go for a run, and then did just some extra training, you know, just climbing the ropes and just doing some like a conditioning, you know, when you would have these like obstacles like jumping on a box, then we would have this dummy and just like throwing, you know, like practicing the suplex and things like that. And you would like just kind of it was almost like a circuit training, you know, when you're like going from the one part to the another one. And then then we would have like 2 or 3 times a week like lifting. And we actually were quite lucky because the gym we train in, we actually had like a lifting room as well, and then we would go there as well. And so our coach would take us, you know, like what we have to do actually. So we would have like some of the like a lifting phases as well when there wasn't like too many competition. And then in the afternoon would be all on the mats, you know, so like all rolling and then practicing the technique and more rolling, you know. So and then we would go for like a camps as well. So as I mentioned, like we would go for like a competition to Poland and then stay for like another week and just did like a camp with them or before as well, you know, and just stay with them and just train with different guys. Like the funny thing was like you don't know the language because you're going all these different countries, but everyone speaks different language, you know, but you're always trying to be the friends because we were like kids, you know, we were like 10, 12 years old, you know, so like if you have all these like friends all around places, you know, and like you can actually speak, you know, but like just the language with the body is enough, you know, to actually like communicate with them. And also like it connects you to the sport as well, you know, because like they like the wrestling, you like the wrestling, you know, so you suddenly mates without like just saying any words, you know. So
It's your social circle as well.
Yes, that was a good part about it.
Back at home, do you have like a glass cabinet with all your trophies and medals there, and maybe a few pictures there framed of you when you were jacked at 15? We want to see those.
I used to actually, right? So I was always collecting. I had like, I don't know, so many medals because like every time you get a medal, right? If you place at least to first three like places get. And I would always like put on a like, you know, trophy and everything. And then I was like, you know, like I still wanted to win, but I didn't like care about the trophy as much on the end, you know, so I would just check them under the bed, you know, and just leave them there. But I'll show you some picture when I started lifting the weights when I was like 16 and like I already put on some weights, so I'll find the picture for you.
You put that on your new Instagram page.
I should have, actually, you could actually laugh, just for my like a mate, like a cottage place, so it's just like a shirtless, you know.
That's cool.
They were laughing at me when I was probably like 16, you know, and just like didn't do anything, just like eating and like, you know, lifting the weights, putting on the weights. So I was like pretty much like eating the steaks, you know, as like people eating the bars, you know, like a chocolate bars, like just feeding myself with the steaks and, you know, anything I could get on, like, you know, just like get as much protein as I could get.
What's your nutrition like now?
Because
I've seen a little bit of you eating.
Yes. So like I always say like I'm trying to eat well, but when I said this to like my brother or my friend, they say like, oh no, you're nuts, you know, like you're eating like way too healthy, you know, like for me it's I'm not like counting the calories or anything like that. I wouldn't go crazy about like how much do I eat, you know, but I would more be crazy about like what I eat. So yeah, probably like 6 years ago, I would I would like take like most of the way of like all my like I wouldn't say carbs. It would be more just like a gluten. So I wouldn't eat any like a pasta, pizza. Cut off the sugar, which was like
No
big thing,
bread?
but no bread. Yeah. And to be honest, I don't enjoy it anymore. You know, it's not like I missed out to have a toast for a breakfast or something like that. It's just like for me, it's just normal now. So I think it would be mixture of like just eating like.
You do ground
veggie.
roots? Do you do like sweet potato or potatoes or anything
Yes,
like that?
yeah, I do. Yes, yeah. So like I pretty much like all vegetables. I think it's like I don't see anything like bad about that. I think for me it's just more like just to have like too much sugar or something like that. It doesn't
good.
feel right. Yeah.
What about meat? Do you eat much meat?
I used to eat a lot more, not as much anymore. Yeah. And so like previously I was working in hospitality, I was working as a chef, so I would have access to all the like different food, but I would just like always choose whatever is good for me, so like always would have like some like fish or meat or a veggie, and then we would have these like, I don't know, it would be like Fridays, when they would like start making burgers or something like that, but like I would never touch it, it wouldn't be something for me like, oh yeah, it's just a Friday, I just have a burger or something like that. Even until like now, I don't actually like feel like that anymore. So it's not something like, oh, I just gonna have a cheat day like every month or something, It's just it doesn't feel right for me. It's like I think it's very like mental game for me now as well, If it's not good for me, it's like I don't wanna see it, It's not something like I would touch it or I would miss it or something like that. I know if it's not good for me, it's just like it's out of my list, So I just keep whatever it's like just keeps me,
Whole
like
foods.
Yes, exactly.
All day, every day.
Yes,
Forever.
Yes,
nice.
It just like keeps me well as well. I feel better after. So
Booze, no drink at all?
no, not drinking.
Yeah.
No, any substance. Like only what I do is coffee. Coffee I like. Yeah, but
I was impressed when you said, "Yeah, I'll have a coffee."
yeah,
Oh,
that's
good.
the only thing.
We're on
Yeah.
a similar level.
Yes, yeah, I haven't been drinking for 9 years now.
Holy
so
shit.
it's
Wow.
funny.
And then
but
obviously the JB Christmas weekend
it's
is
all
going
gonna
to be
change, bro.
marking the end of that.
I don't
period.
think so. I don't think it's gonna happen. But the funny thing is, I say it's 9 years, and that's like when I was actually 19, right when I stopped drinking. So I didn't
So
drink
you've been
for
drinking from an early age?
a little bit experience when I was a kid, just to like get touch on everything. But I couldn't really handle it. Like first of all, my body, I think it's just not feeling well.
like it.
I would get sick really quickly.
Is there an age limit to drinking alcohol in Slovakia?
Yeah, 18.
18.
But it's
Yeah.
not that
Bit
very,
everyone.
like it's not strict as here.
Okay,
like
yeah.
if you're
Big beer culture there, huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
very big. Yes, yeah. But it's also spirit as well. The wine is not as big, like spirit and
Beer
beer.
and
Vodka and
spirits.
stuff.
Yes, yeah. But for me, it was like I was a teenager, so I wanted to like try everything. But then I never really like enjoyed to be actually drunk or taste of the alcohol. So I was like, no, it's not for me. I just like step away. I think it was actually when I decided to go for marathon. I was like, okay, I have to like be actually cautious what I like, what I do. And I started preparing myself. Like I was like running a lot every day. So
And
I
that was
like,
it? That was the end of your alcohol?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and
Wow.
then like never feel like to drink anymore. So just like step away from the drinking, and yeah. Since then, I like never really feel like drink anymore. So, but yeah, I guess like my mom, she's the same. She never drinks. So I guess it's like probably the similar thing.
What about food when you go home? Because there's obviously a lot of stodgy food in your culture, I'm guessing. Like you
guys do dumplings?
based and dumplings.
Yes,
and stuff?
exactly. It's way too much. Yes, I went home like it's almost 5 years ago now. Yeah, and that
Do
was
you
the
give
thing.
yourself a little bit of leeway there?
So no, I didn't. No,
Wow,
no.
wow.
So yeah, that was the thing, like everyone was like, oh yeah, you're gonna get home, like you're gonna just eat whatever. But I was like, no, it's
Because
like,
you would have grown up on that. That
yes,
was your
yeah, and plus
your
like in the
base.
winter you don't get much, as you don't get much veggie fruit,
Yeah.
like all you can like store it's a potato pretty much and cabbage, right? So that's all what you have, and I was like, no, like I'm not eating, things I like. It's not good for me, so I was just like cooking for myself. Yeah, and then there was actually like this thing. So when I was back home, I went for a funeral, and there was just like all this food, like which wasn't like really healthy. So I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna eat, you know. And my mom was like, oh, just have some food, you know, like we're just gonna stay here for a little bit. I was like, no, I'm not eating, you know, like the food is not good for me. Then yeah, I went back home after the funeral, and I was like, okay, now I just cook something for myself. So like, I think I just cooked like some.
You're that boring guy at the dinner party.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. That's why I don't go out as well, you know. Going to bed at 9 o'clock, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, not partying much. But I'm looking forward to Christmas party now. That's gonna be a fun time, I think.
We're going to find you in your tent.
Yes,
We're
yeah.
going to be the worst influence you've ever had.
That's why I'm actually like surprised what's gonna happen there, right? Everyone from the gym, you know, like.
Pavel came up to me
How
and
the
he
people
said,
gonna behave like?
he came up to me and said, oh, I'm a bit worried about the Christmas party. I said, what are you worried about? He goes, the costume party. And I was like, what are you worried about a costume party? He goes, I've never been to a costume party before.
Yeah. I don't know how it is like, you know, what am I supposed to do?
Joe, you had some advice for, well, our costume party is Burning Man theme, but you had some advice for Pavel.
Yeah, my advice to Pavel was wear a wrestling unitard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like chuck that on. You could get like a bit of
Do some push-ups before, right?
always
Get the bands on.
You basically want to schedule push-ups every 30 minutes so the pump is maintained.
Right.
But you know, you could do it with some boots. You know, you could chuck
wrestling boots.
Yeah, you know, like you could be there. You could ham it up. Could be like post-apocalyptic, like road wrestler.
Yeah.
The Mad Max of wrestling.
That would be cool, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe get some painting, you know, or something like that. So
Yeah.
You could even put some glitter on your wrestling boots. Or sequins. Roll them in sequins.
I like that.
So your feet will like sparkle on the dance floor.
I know it's all about the equality, but this is a little bit too gay. You know?
You don't want the images leaked back to your coach.
Exactly, yeah. He would kick me out. Yeah.
Mate, so what's the future plans for you? You're in the internship right now, which we're almost at halfway. What do what's the direction over the next, say, 12 months or a few years? Where do you want to go with your career and stuff?
Yeah, so I started like kind of full-time coaching only like 3-4 months ago. So it's kind of like still new to me. Like I was coaching previously, like probably for like last 6-7 years, like doing like wrestling classes, some strength conditioning classes in like different clubs. But it was always just like because I enjoyed to do it actually. So it was never like, okay, this is my job, I'm gonna get paid for it. So like most of the time I would just do it, like, oh yeah, I don't mind do a few classes, for the gyms. And then I kind of actually always wanted to like go into, I don't actually really like this word, but going into like fitness industry. And so I decided like
Why don't you like that word?
fitness.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds a little bit like, fitness.
Bit lame.
Do a little bit burpee.
Body pump.
And, yes, yeah.
Do the squat, curl, press exercise.
Yeah, prefer words like, sport and like athletics or something, performance. Yeah.
Understandable.
Fitness for me is like, it doesn't like sounds really right for me.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think most of the people, that's what they use. So, and then, so the future, it's, hopefully continue what I do at the moment, like with you guys, and then like depending, what's gonna be in the future, maybe like going up to like north with with a T, or see how it's go, everything, So we're not to like
I'm gonna take over Mullumbimby.
That's it. Yes, gonna take it over, right?
Pavel's gonna get.
There's got to be a reality TV show in that.
I think so. It should be.
when the Slovakian wrestler lands in Mullumbimby, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. I'm here to set up a gym.
Yes. We're gonna make it as the capital city, right?
It'll be an interesting crew.
Yeah.
We'll have a breakdancer, a wrestler. We'll have a compulsive weed smoker.
Maybe two of those.
What's that? Possibly two. Is it a surprise? It's waiting for me.
Just go with an open mind.
We need to make some. We need to make some money as well, right?
That's right. Yeah. Whatever pays the bills.
Yes. Yeah. So this is, I think, the future. Like, continue on a fitness career, and just like keep improving myself and people around me. So I think it's like really really interesting to see like people growing around you, not just like seeing you. And especially like if you do something, I think you always like kind of forget about the progress you're doing, but you always can see progress people like with people around you, you know. So if you're like trying to help them and trying to develop, you know, like the skill and like the physicality, I think it's very big like thing for me, you know, to see and helping people, you know, to just develop themselves and go on the pathway, you know. They maybe they never experienced before, or they've done it in the past and they want to like come back, or even people, you know, they want to like change the training as well. So that's where I'm like heading now.
It's cool, man. You bring in your like your culture of training, and your approach to it is now part of this gym, which is really cool to see. You're obviously coaching Friday nights. You're taking our fundamentals wrestling class.
Yes.
And then you're doing the open mat that follows on.
Yes.
And then you've also got some one-to-one clients that are working with you now, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. So this is, I think, something new for me, but it's really cool to see as well, you know, individual like growing, you know, and they improving their physicality, and they're having some goal they want to achieve. And I think for like lots of people, they don't even know their goal, you know, but as soon as you like start talking to them, they actually realize like, okay, this is actually I can focus on, you know, because like I think lots of people just train just because like they want to do something, you know, like, oh, I don't know, like my brother told me like I have to train, you know, so I'm gonna train. But lots of people, I think they don't have actually like a specific goal they want to go for, and I think there's always something to improve, you know, like there's never kind of finish line when like, okay, I achieve everything and that's it for me. And I think that's what you like see very often in like athletes, you know, they trying to go for like a Olympic Games or win Olympic Games or something like that, or winning like some match, and then like, okay, I won the match or I won the like competition, and that's it, you know. And that's why like I think they get stuck, you know, like there's like nothing else. But I think you always can find something you actually can going for, you know, like either if it's like a different skill or you know, trying to improve something else, you know, there's always these like a different aspects, you know, like you can't be like perfect with everything, you know. So I think especially with the athlete, it's a big thing to actually don't stop once they like finish their like fitness career, but there's like sport career, but there's always something they can continue with, which I think it's still like problematic with athletes, you know, because they feel like, okay, I finished the career in like age of 30 and that's it for me. So that's I think very important still to look at.
Yeah, there's a lot a study done behind that particular subject. We've talked about it a couple of times as well.
Right,
weight
yes.
packs on, but also mental state starts to deteriorate in a lot of athletes once they stop practicing their discipline.
Yeah, because I think it's problem as well when you have like this like a big goal, like I don't know, like winning like a world championship, you know, and then you win that, you know, and they're like, okay, what's the next? Yeah, because you're just looking for one big goal, you know, like I'm sure they like enjoying the pathway they have as well, but then like, you know, if you're like winning whatever like world championship, you know, and then someone tells you like, I don't know, just a simple thing like, oh, like can you do muscle up, you know, or something like that, and like for them it's not such a big goal, you know, because they already achieve a lot bigger goal than that, you know, so it's like something. I think it's a mental game for them as well to actually to choose something and still enjoy, you know, and that's why it's like I think really important to enjoy the whole training, not just like, oh, I'm just looking for a goal.
Just a competition.
I achieve the goal and that's it, you know, like ideally you're supposed to look forward to every training you do, so enjoy like every time you go and like do something different, or even if it's the same thing, you know, sometimes you just have to grind and just continue like trying to slowly improve, you know, and change the training on the way.
I'm here for you, T, as a support system for you after you win your grappling match next week.
Yeah,
the big championship. I'd hate for you to deteriorate.
What's left, really?
After that,
you know,
big sacrifice.
You know?
Yeah.
2-week training camp.
It's not easy.
Assuming my mindset for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we said that I think actually yesterday, right? When like guys like they're all preparing for a fight night now, which is next Friday. And,
And then-
yes, everyone was like, oh, it's 8 weeks, was it 8 or 10 weeks, of the preparation.
Yeah.
And everyone just exhausted now, like coming to the end. And T was like, oh yeah, I actually feel okay. I actually just like said yes, like 2 days ago, so like I didn't actually have to go through this like all stressing about and
It's quite nice, actually. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you just jump straight in. T is always ready for it.
Always ready.
Yeah.
Ready to bang.
Someone's going to
Yeah.
pull out of a striking match. I'm jumping in that one as well.
Yeah.
Box on.
Yes.
Pav, where can, if people want to know more about you, or maybe they want to talk about PT or whatever, where can they connect with you?
Yeah. I think on the social media, possibly.
I see you there.
Not really good on the social media. I just started with the internship program now. So yeah, I have like Instagram and Facebook. So actually on the Facebook it's pretty much my name, which is Pavel Sadecki or Pavel Sadecki. And
How do you spell that?
so first name is Pavel, Pavol. Last name it's Sadecki, Sadecky. I think very European name. Especially if I say Pavel, people struggle to like, oh, what's the name actually? Like, oh, just call me Pav, make it easy.
And then Instagram?
And then Instagram, I guess it's the same, but I think there's like an,
Joe's
so it's
helping.
Pavel.sadecki.free for some reason. I don't know, actually, I haven't created, so I don't
We
know.
might have to simplify that.
I know, yes, yeah, I have to change it out.
Joe's
but-
probably got some good ideas. He's good with that
I got
stuff.
some ideas, but I'll put a link to that in the show notes, anyways, so
Cool.
you can connect with Pavel there and give him a follow because it's cool to see. It's cool to see his training evolution and
Yeah.
and you'll just get a bit of inspo because the guy's so fucking jacked and ripped. It'll motivate you for your own training.
Yeah,
Or
always right.
sometimes it can be demotivating.
Yeah, you could feel like shit.
Yeah.
Maybe don't look at it.
Staying on top of the game for like last 20 years. Training never went away.
People ask, how can I get in that kind of shape? And you're like, well, start when you were 6 and
No,
maintain it
stop.
until present
Exactly,
day,
yeah.
and maybe you have a chance.
I always like,
Don't eat burgers.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. Like, why would you stop? What's the reason? Like, like there's no such a thing. Why would you go away from the pathway?
It's good. It's a good attitude, man.
If you're going for a holiday, you have like actually even more excuse to train because you have more free time.
I agree with this.
I agree.
Yes, yeah.
Mate, thank you for coming on today. It was really cool to hear your story.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Pav.
Thanks, Pavel.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for listening. Big shout out to our sponsor, Pandavore Cafe, for giving us the coffee that we were drinking today that fueled us. Check them out if you're ever over in Pagewood. Pav was drinking from the Little Miss Princess Cup, which is our
I
guest
really
cup.
like the cup. Sorry, I just
like
want to
that?
say, Little Prince. So what is it? Little Miss Princess Cup. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. It's for you.
That'll go with your sequence shoes at the John Brothers.
That's how I feel now.
We've got our fight night coming up this weekend. By the time you hear this, it'll be on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. It's kicking off around 2:30, 3 o'clock. junglebrothers.com/blog. If you go to our blog, you'll be able to find all the details on it. Purchase the stream. Even if you're not going to watch it, donate because all of the proceeds go towards Rise Foundation Australia, and they will be putting all of the proceeds back into educating the people in our community about mental health and first aid of mental health issues. So super important stuff, but it's also going to be an epic night of fight. So you might as well tune in, watch it, get some popcorn, get a few
Carnage.
beers. We still have a few of
Pavel will be
the
reffing.
gold class VIP tickets, which are very limited. There's only 5 of them.
There was 5 a few days ago.
Three, I think.
Yeah, there's
maybe
like
3 left. That's on
venue
the
tickets.
actual, up in the dojo, on the main floor. You'll be front seat for the action.
Major
And you'll also
film.
have famous Sodaco drinks on hand, which is sugar-free, Pav, I'll have you know. And we'll also have damn good wine sponsoring, so there'll be a bunch of wine there. It's not you, Pav.
I'll stick with the water, I guess.
So it'd be really nice for those who are in-house. And I just wanted to give a shout-out to everyone that's been tagging our podcast on social media. Spotify have been putting out like your year of 2020 in review. At the moment, when you open your Spotify, you'll see it, and it's like everything you've listened to in 2020. And we've had so many people posting it on Instagram, tagging us, because the Jungle Brothers podcast is one of the things that they've been listening to the most. So it's really cool to get that, to see the support out there. We really appreciate you guys spreading the word. It helps us support the show. So keep doing that. And if you enjoy this episode, please share it with a friend. If you want help with your training, junglebrothers.com. Come and see us. We'll catch you guys next week. Thank you for listening. Thank you, gents.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.